In today's world, makeup is a daily part of many people's lives, whether for enhancing beauty or boosting confidence. But as Christians, have you ever wondered, does the Bible have anything to say about makeup? Is it something we should embrace or should we stay away from it altogether? You might feel torn between cultural pressures to look a certain way and the desire to live out your faith authentically. The question is, how do we navigate this in a way that honors God and doesn't compromise our values? In this exploration, we'll take a closer look into the Bible's timeless wisdom to uncover how we can approach makeup, not from a place of shame or confusion, but with clarity, purpose, and a heart that seeks to reflect God's love and truth. Let's find out together whether the Bible accepts or condemns makeup, and how we can make choices that align with our faith. But wait, before we get into the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that way you can never miss out on the latest videos about the Bible. Now onto the video. Makeup has been used by people for thousands of years. It's not something new or modern, it actually dates back to some of the oldest civilizations in history. Ancient cultures like the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all used different kinds of cosmetics for various reasons, including beauty, tradition, and social status. In ancient Egypt, both men and women used a dark substance called kohl to line their eyes. This wasn't just for looks. People believed it could protect their eyes from the bright sun and even from bad spirits. Egyptians also used colored powders on their faces and scented oils on their skin. Wearing makeup was a sign of wealth and importance, and it was also part of religious and cultural practices. In other ancient cultures, makeup had different meanings. In some places, it was used during special ceremonies or religious events. In others, it showed that a person belonged to a higher social class. Sometimes, warriors painted their faces before going into battle to look strong or to show courage. So, makeup was used for many different reasons, not just to appear attractive. Over time, the use of makeup spread across the world. In medieval Europe, people used powders to make their skin look pale, which was seen as elegant. In other cultures, bright colors on the lips or cheeks were signs of health and beauty. Throughout history, makeup often reflected what a society considered beautiful or important at that time. Today, makeup is used in many different ways. Some people wear it every day while others wear it only for special occasions. Some use makeup to express their style, boost confidence, or simply because they enjoy it. Others choose not to wear it at all, and that's perfectly fine too. Makeup is personal, and different people have different reasons for using it, or not using it. Because makeup has been around for so long and is such a big part of human culture, it's natural for Christians to wonder how God sees it. The Bible is the guide for those who want to follow God's will, so an important question is, does the Bible support the use of makeup, or does it warn against it? For Christians who want to live according to God's word, every part of life should be guided by what the Bible teaches. That includes the way we speak, how we treat others, how we spend our time, and even how we present ourselves. This is where the question about makeup becomes important. If someone is trying to honor God in all things, they may ask, is it right or wrong for a Christian to wear makeup? This question isn't just about appearance. It's connected to deeper ideas like modesty, pride, self-worth, and how we view beauty. Some people believe wearing makeup can be a form of self-expression or a way to feel confident. Others are concerned that it might encourage vanity, draw attention for the wrong reasons, or lead to an unhealthy focus on physical appearance. Because the Bible is meant to be the foundation for Christian living, many believers want to know if there is any clear guidance in Scripture. They might wonder, does the Bible say that wearing makeup is sinful? Does it give any examples of godly women wearing makeup? Are there any warnings about focusing too much on beauty? What does God truly care about when it comes to how we look? These are honest and important questions, and they deserve thoughtful answers. The goal is not to create a list of rules, but to understand what the Bible teaches and how those teachings apply to personal choices, like whether or not to wear makeup. It's also important to remember that Christians may come to different conclusions based on how they read and understand certain parts of the Bible. That's why it's helpful to look at what Scripture actually says in context, and to think about the heart and attitude behind each decision. One of the first things people notice when they search the Bible for answers about makeup is that there isn't a clear command that says, you must not wear makeup, or, you are free to wear makeup. The Bible doesn't directly forbid or approve it in a simple one-sentence rule. Because of that, some people might think the Bible doesn't say anything about it at all. But that's not entirely true. Even though there isn't a specific command, the Bible gives many principles and examples that can help us think about the topic carefully. Instead of giving rules for every detail of life, the Bible often teaches us how to make wise decisions by focusing on the heart, our motives, and how our actions affect others. This means that when something isn't directly mentioned, like makeup, we have to look at the bigger picture. What does the Bible say about beauty? What does it say about humility, modesty, and how we should present ourselves? These questions help us build a better understanding, even when there's no direct law. In fact, this is how Christians make decisions about many modern things that didn't exist in Bible times, like social media, internet use, or clothing styles that have changed over time. Instead of looking for a yes or no command, believers are encouraged to look at biblical values and apply them to their daily choices. When it comes to makeup, the Bible includes some verses where makeup is mentioned, but those verses are part of stories or teachings that need to be understood in context. Some examples involve people using makeup in negative situations, while others are simply descriptions without any judgment. That's why it's important not to make a decision based on just one verse, but to study the Bible as a whole. So, even though there is no direct command about makeup, that doesn't mean the Bible is silent. It simply means we need to go deeper, looking at related themes and learning how to apply godly wisdom to our personal choices. One of the most well-known Bible verses that mentions makeup is found in 2 Kings 9 verse 30. It says, "When Jehu came to Jezreel, Jezebel heard about it. She put on eye makeup, arranged her hair and looked out of a window." This verse is often brought up in conversations about whether or not makeup is good or bad from a biblical point of view. In this verse, Jezebel is described as putting on eye makeup and fixing her hair just before she is confronted by Jehu, who had been anointed as king and sent by God to bring judgment on her and her family. Soon after this moment, Jezebel is thrown from a window and dies. Because of this, some people say that the Bible connects makeup with evil, pride, or rebellion. However, it's important to look more closely at the story. Jezebel wasn't judged by God because she wore makeup. She was judged because of her long history of serious sins. She worshipped false gods, led others into idolatry, ordered the killing of innocent people and opposed God's prophets. Her character and actions were evil long before this moment in 2 Kings 9. The makeup in this scene is simply part of the description. Jezebel may have been trying to protect her image, show power, or even try to seduce or intimidate Jehu. But the Bible doesn't say that her makeup was the reason for her downfall. It was her heart, her pride, and her wickedness that brought judgment upon her. This shows us something important. Just because makeup appears in a story with a bad person doesn't automatically mean the makeup itself is bad. We have to be careful not to take one verse and build a rule from it, especially when the main point of the story is about something else. Also, if we applied the same logic to everything else in that story, we would have to say that arranging your hair is sinful too. But clearly, that's not what the Bible is teaching. The problem with Jezebel wasn't her appearance, it was her rebellion against God. In the end, 2 Kings 9 verse 30 shows us that context matters. Jezebel's makeup is mentioned in a moment of drama and pride, but it's not a command against makeup for everyone. Instead of focusing only on what she wore, we should focus on why she did it and what her heart was like. Are you enjoying the video so far? Then click the like button so you can keep being notified of the latest videos on my channel. Another key passage in the Bible that is often discussed in connection with makeup and appearance is found in 1 Peter 3 verses 3-4. In this passage, the Apostle Peter writes, "Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight." At first glance, this might seem like a command against wearing makeup, fancy clothes, or jewelry. But a closer look helps us understand what Peter is really trying to say. His main message is not a strict rule about external appearance. It's a reminder about what matters most to God. Peter is speaking to Christian women and encouraging them to focus on inner beauty, not just their looks. In other words, he's saying that a godly heart, full of kindness, peace, and humility, is much more valuable than expensive clothing or decorated hair. That doesn't mean outer beauty is bad. It just means it shouldn't be the most important thing in a believer's life. It's also important to notice what Peter doesn't say. He doesn't say, "You must never wear jewelry," or "makeup is sinful." Instead, he gives a comparison: don't let your beauty come only from those things. In other words, outer appearance should never replace a strong, Christ-like character. What's on the outside may fade with time, but what's on the inside lasts forever. This message is especially helpful in a world where people are often judged by how they look. Peter reminds believers that God doesn't see us the way the world does. He looks at the heart. A gentle and quiet spirit may not get as much attention as makeup or fancy clothing, but it is of great worth in God's sight. Some Christians may choose to wear very little makeup, or none at all, because they want to keep the focus on their inner life. Others may wear makeup but still keep their priorities right by making sure their heart is in the right place. What matters most is not whether a person wears makeup, but whether they are honoring God with their attitude and intentions. So, 1 Peter 3 verses 3 to 4 is not a direct rule against makeup. It's a strong encouragement to put spiritual character above physical appearance. It teaches believers that true beauty comes from within. Two Old Testament passages that are sometimes used in discussions about makeup are Ezekiel 23 and Isaiah 3. These chapters include strong language and descriptions about women and their outward appearance, including references to makeup, jewelry, and luxurious clothing. Because of the serious tone in these texts, some people believe they show that God condemns the use of makeup. But to understand these verses properly, we need to look at what they're really about. Let's start with Ezekiel 23. This chapter is a symbolic story. God uses the example of two sisters, Oholah and Oholibah, to represent the cities of Samaria and Jerusalem. These sisters are described as being unfaithful to God. They chase after other nations and copy their sinful ways, including their idolatry and immorality. In verse 40 it says, "They put on makeup and jewelry and sat on beautiful couches." Here, the makeup is part of the imagery used to show how the people were trying to attract other nations, just like someone might dress up to impress others. But the real issue in this passage isn't makeup. It's the spiritual unfaithfulness of God's people. They had turned away from Him and followed false gods. The outward beauty described is being used as a symbol of seduction and idolatry, not as a literal instruction about cosmetics. Now let's look at Isaiah 3, which talks about the judgment that is coming to the people of Judah. In verses 16 to 24, the prophet describes the pride of the women in Jerusalem. They are called haughty, and the text lists many of their fashion items: anklets, headbands, perfume, fine clothing, mirrors, and more. It even says that instead of beauty, they will be left with shame and suffering. This passage is also not about makeup itself. It's about pride and arrogance. The women are being judged not because they wore beautiful things, but because they were focused only on appearance and ignored humility, justice, and their relationship with God. The beauty described here is a picture of their misplaced priorities. Both Ezekiel 23 and Isaiah 3 use strong and poetic language to make a point. When people care more about image than obedience to God, something is wrong. The outward appearance is used as a symbol of spiritual problems, not as the root of the problem itself. So, while these verses include descriptions of makeup and fashion, they are not commands against those things. They are warnings about pride, rebellion, and putting physical appearance above spiritual truth. While many Bible verses warn about the dangers of focusing too much on external appearance, there are also positive examples in Scripture where beauty is acknowledged and even celebrated. These examples show that beauty itself isn't wrong, but it should be viewed through the lens of godliness and humility. One of the most well-known positive examples of beauty in the Bible is Queen Esther. In the book of Esther, we learn that Esther was not only wise and courageous but also described as having beautiful form and features. Esther 2 verse 7. Her beauty was noted by King Xerxes, who chose her as his queen after a beauty contest. But Esther's story isn't just about her outer beauty, it's about how she used her position to save her people, the Jews, from destruction. Her beauty was part of God's plan, but it wasn't the reason she was chosen. It was her faith, courage, and obedience to God that truly made her stand out. Another example is Sarah, the wife of Abraham, who is described as being very beautiful in Genesis 12 verse 11. In fact, when Abraham and Sarah went to Egypt, he worried that the Egyptians would kill him to take her as their own wife because of her beauty. Again, Sarah's beauty is acknowledged, but her faith and trust in God were far more important. Her story shows that beauty can be part of God's plan, but it's the heart that matters the most. Additionally, the Bible often talks about beauty in a spiritual sense. In Psalm 27 verse 4, King David says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek Him in His temple." This verse helps us understand that true beauty in God's eyes is not found in physical appearance, but in His holiness and character. For Christians, the most important form of beauty is found in a relationship with God and a life that reflects His goodness. The Bible even speaks about the beauty of holiness in several places, showing that spiritual beauty, such as kindness, humility, love, and faith, outshines physical beauty in God's sight. Proverbs 31 verse 30 says, "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." This verse reminds us that while physical beauty may fade with time, a godly character lasts forever. From these examples, we can see that beauty itself isn't something to be condemned, but it should always take a backseat to godly character and spiritual priorities. It's not wrong to appreciate or even care about outward beauty, but it's important to remember that true beauty in the eyes of God is found in the heart, a heart that loves and obeys Him. Now that we've looked at various Bible passages about beauty, makeup, and how God sees our hearts, it's time to consider how Christians today can make wise choices about wearing makeup. Since the Bible doesn't give a direct command on whether or not makeup is acceptable, the decision comes down to understanding our motives, focusing on inner beauty, and ensuring that our choices honor God. 1. The heart behind the decision. The first thing to consider when deciding whether or not to wear makeup is the heart behind it. Why do you want to wear makeup? Is it because you want to feel more confident, express your creativity, or simply have fun? Or is it because you feel insecure, seeking validation from others or society's standards of beauty? The Bible teaches that God looks at the heart, 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, and our actions, whether it's wearing makeup, choosing clothes, or anything else, should come from a heart that seeks to honor Him. 2. Modesty and humility. Another important consideration is modesty. The Bible encourages believers to be modest in their appearance and not to be overly focused on outward beauty. In 1 Timothy 2 verses 9 to 10, Paul writes, "I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves, not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds, appropriate for women who profess to worship God." This doesn't mean that wearing makeup is inherently wrong, but it suggests that our appearance should not overshadow our character or good works. The key is balance, looking presentable but focusing more on the inner qualities that reflect Christ's love. 3. Avoiding vanity and pride. A third consideration is avoiding vanity and pride. The Bible warns against becoming overly focused on our appearance or seeking to impress others with our looks. In Proverbs 31 verse 30, we are reminded that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting. If makeup becomes a tool for pride or trying to draw attention for selfish reasons, then it could become a stumbling block. Christians should avoid anything that leads to vanity, where outer beauty becomes the most important thing. Instead, we should aim to reflect God's beauty through our actions, love, and humility. 4. Personal convictions and freedom. For some people, wearing makeup may be something they feel comfortable with and even enjoy as a way to express themselves. For others, it may feel like a distraction from focusing on what truly matters. The Bible gives Christians freedom in many areas of life. When there is no specific command, it's a personal decision based on conscience. In Romans 14 verse 5, Paul says, "One person considers one day more sacred than another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind." This means that if wearing makeup aligns with your convictions and doesn't cause you to compromise your faith or values, it may be acceptable. However, if it causes you to stumble or leads to pride, then it might be better to reconsider. 5. Consideration for others. Finally, when making choices about makeup, it's important to consider how it might affect others. In 1 Corinthians 10 verse 24, Paul writes, "No one should seek their own good but the good of others." This principle encourages us to think about how our choices may influence the people around us. If wearing makeup helps you feel more confident and doesn't lead to sinful pride, it's probably fine. But if it becomes a distraction or if you're trying to make others feel less than or insecure about their natural appearance, then it could be time to reevaluate your approach. In the end, the Bible doesn't give a strict rule about wearing makeup. What matters is the condition of the heart. Whether or not to wear makeup is a personal decision, but it should always be made with careful thought and prayer, keeping in mind that our ultimate goal as Christians is to reflect God's love and character, not just our outer appearance. In today's world, makeup has become a common part of daily life for many people. Whether it's for enhancing natural features, expressing creativity, or simply having fun, makeup is widely used across cultures and age groups. However, like many other aspects of modern life, the use of makeup can raise important questions for Christians. To make an informed decision, it's helpful to consider the arguments for and against makeup that are often presented in both Christian and secular discussions. Self-expression and creativity. One common argument in favor of wearing makeup is that it can be a way to express individuality and creativity. Just like painting or drawing, makeup allows people to create art on their faces. Many individuals enjoy experimenting with different looks, colors, and styles. Makeup can be a fun and artistic way to express oneself without necessarily focusing on vanity. When approached in this way, makeup can be seen as a personal choice to explore one's creativity rather than a form of pride or superficiality. Boosting confidence. Another reason people choose to wear makeup is that it can boost self-confidence. For some, makeup helps them feel better about their appearance and can even improve their mood. When someone feels good about how they look, it can lead to increased confidence in other areas of life. Christians who wear makeup for this reason might see it as a way to feel more comfortable in their own skin, especially in situations where they may face public speaking, social interactions, or professional environments. Enhancing natural beauty. Some people view makeup as a tool to enhance natural beauty, not to completely transform their appearance. A little foundation, mascara, or lip balm might be used to highlight someone's best features, without hiding or altering who they are. For Christians, this approach is not about vanity but about adding a little extra care to one's appearance, which can be a reflection of respecting the body God has given them. Cultural and social norms. In many cultures, makeup is simply a part of social norms. For instance, in certain professional settings, makeup is often expected as part of a polished and presentable appearance. In such cases, wearing makeup can be seen as a social expectation rather than a personal choice driven by vanity. Christians may choose to wear makeup in these contexts for the sake of being culturally relevant or fitting in with professional standards without compromising their faith. Focus on inner beauty. A primary argument against wearing makeup is that it encourages people to focus too much on outward appearance. As we saw in the passage from 1 Peter 3 verses 3 to 4, the Bible encourages Christians to prioritize inner beauty, the beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, over external adornments. Those who argue against makeup might say that it's a distraction from cultivating godly character and can reinforce a culture that places too much value on physical appearance. Instead, they believe Christians should focus on developing qualities like kindness, humility, and love, which are far more valuable than outward looks. Vanity and pride. Another argument is that makeup can be linked to vanity and pride. For some, wearing makeup may stem from a desire to look perfect or to gain attention from others. This focus on physical beauty rather than the heart or spiritual growth could lead to a sinful pride. Christians who hold this view may argue that constantly focusing on one's appearance can lead to an unhealthy obsession with beauty standards, making it harder to find contentment in who God has made them to be. In this sense, makeup could be seen as a tool that nurtures pride instead of humility. Materialism and consumerism. Some Christians are concerned that the makeup industry promotes materialism and encourages people to spend large amounts of money on products that are often unnecessary. They may argue that this focus on buying and using makeup can distract believers from being good stewards of their money and resources. Instead of investing in products to enhance appearance, Christians are encouraged to invest in things that have eternal value, such as generosity, helping others, and supporting ministries. False standards of beauty. The beauty standards in many parts of the world are often unrealistic and unattainable, especially when they are reinforced by the makeup and beauty industries. Some people argue that wearing makeup can perpetuate these false standards of beauty, which might lead to feelings of inadequacy or insecurity for those who cannot afford expensive products or meet those ideals. For Christians, this could be seen as harmful to mental health, as it encourages comparisons and emphasizes external looks over the deeper qualities that God values. When it comes to making a decision about whether to wear makeup, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Christians are called to live according to biblical principles, which include modesty, humility, and focusing on the heart. It's important to weigh the arguments both for and against makeup, considering personal convictions, motives, and cultural context. Ultimately, the decision should be made with prayer, seeking God's wisdom and guidance. Makeup, in itself, is not inherently good or bad. It's the motive behind its use that matters. Christians should ask themselves, am I using makeup in a way that honors God? Is it becoming a distraction or a source of pride? Does it reflect my values, or am I conforming to worldly beauty standards? After exploring various Bible passages about beauty, makeup, and spiritual priorities, it's clear that the Bible doesn't provide a strict rule about whether or not Christians should wear makeup. Instead, it offers principles that guide us in making wise, thoughtful decisions. When it comes to makeup, the key is to align our choices with biblical values, ensuring that we prioritize our relationship with God, cultivate inner beauty, and avoid any form of vanity or misplaced priorities. Here are the main biblical principles we can apply when considering whether to wear makeup. 1. Focus on the heart, not just the outer appearance. As seen in 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, God looks at the heart, not just outward appearance. This means that while it's not wrong to care about how we look, we must remember that our spiritual character is far more important than our physical appearance. Makeup can be a way to care for our appearance, but it should never take priority over qualities like kindness, humility, and love. When we wear makeup, we should do so with the right motives, whether it's to enhance our natural beauty, express creativity, or simply feel confident, without placing undue emphasis on it as the most important aspect of our identity. 2. Avoid vanity and pride. The Bible warns against vanity and pride in several passages, including Proverbs 31 verse 30 and 1 Peter 3 verses 3-4. If our use of makeup becomes an avenue for self-centeredness or an unhealthy obsession with beauty, it may be time to reconsider. We should be cautious if we find ourselves trying to impress others with our appearance, or if makeup leads to feelings of superiority or insecurity. Ultimately, true beauty in God's eyes comes from a gentle and quiet spirit, not external adornments. 3. Modesty and moderation. The principle of modesty is a key consideration in Christian decision-making. The Bible encourages modesty in our clothing and appearance, as seen in 1 Timothy 2 verses 9-10. This doesn't mean we can't wear makeup, but it reminds us to be balanced and not let our appearance become a source of pride or distraction. We should avoid excessive focus on our outward appearance and ensure that our clothing, makeup, and style reflect our commitment to humility and modesty. Makeup can be worn tastefully and moderately, keeping the focus on a godly character rather than drawing excessive attention to ourselves. As we saw in Romans 14 verse 5, Christians have freedom in many areas of life, including personal appearance. If wearing makeup aligns with your personal convictions and does not cause you to stumble in your faith or make you overly focused on your appearance, it is likely fine. However, it's essential to make decisions based on what brings glory to God and reflects your values. If wearing makeup feels like it leads you away from godly priorities or causes you to struggle with insecurity or pride, it might be worth rethinking your approach. 5. Consideration for others. Finally, we must remember to consider the impact of our choices on others. As 1 Corinthians 10 verse 24 teaches, we should seek the good of others, not just ourselves. If wearing makeup causes others to feel insecure or pressured to look a certain way, we may want to reconsider how we approach our appearance. Likewise, we should avoid making others feel inferior based on their appearance. Our role as Christians is to encourage one another in love and to reflect Christ's love in all that we do, including how we present ourselves. Practical advice: making the right choice for you. When deciding whether to wear makeup, it's important to pray and ask God for wisdom. Reflect on your own motivations and consider the impact on your spiritual life and relationships with others. Here are some practical steps you can take. Examine your motives. Why do you want to wear makeup? Is it for confidence, creativity, or to seek approval from others? Ensure your decision aligns with your desire to honor God and reflect His character. Set boundaries. If you wear makeup, keep it in balance. Don't let it become an obsession or take priority over your spiritual growth. Ensure that your inner beauty shines through just as brightly as your outer appearance. Respect your convictions. Some may choose not to wear makeup because it doesn't align with their personal convictions or it feels like a distraction from their faith. Others may feel comfortable with it as long as it doesn't compromise their relationship with God. Either choice is valid as long as it is made thoughtfully and prayerfully. Encourage others. Whether you choose to wear makeup or not, remember to encourage others to find their beauty in God. Help others see that true beauty comes from a relationship with Christ and is reflected in the way we love and serve others. In conclusion, the Bible doesn't directly command Christians to wear or avoid makeup, but it does provide principles that guide our decisions. Our ultimate goal should be to honor God in all things, including how we care for our appearance. Whether we choose to wear makeup or not, it should always be done with the right heart, in moderation, and in a way that reflects the love, humility, and character of Christ. Above all, let us remember that true beauty is found in the heart, and it's this inner beauty that pleases God the most. What are your thoughts about the Bible on this behalf? Do you use makeup or know someone that uses it? If so, do you agree or disagree with what I said in this video? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and I will make sure to read them.